Welcome to Reflecting Light. This podcast is about filling the world with light by exploring myth, ancient texts, scripture, great works of world literature, and the works of artists, past and present, for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. And now, here is your host, Mandy Green.
Hello and welcome to Reflecting Light. We made it to February. Well done, everybody. Well done. It's great to be with you. Final call for anyone who wants to join me on the Mary Magdalene pilgrimage this April, the 17th through the 27th. Registrations will close at the end of this next week, and I'd love to have you come. This is the last time in the very foreseeable future that I will be doing this. So if you want to come, we'd love to have you. Information is at forbiddenadventure.com, or you can always email me at mandybgreen@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. All right, today's podcast is fairly straightforward. I've been thinking so much about how we show up for each other and the different ways we can show up for each other. So to talk about this, someone in my spiritual formation class shared a part of a verse from Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He wrote a poem called Who Am I? It was written about a month before he died in a Nazi prison camp and shortly before the war ended. And he was a filmmaker who was trying to make Christian films to remind people about the good things of the world. So I'd like to read a small excerpt from the middle of his poem that says, "Am I then really all that which other men tell of? Or am I only what I know of myself, restless and longing and sick, like a bird in a cage struggling for breath, as though hands were compressing my throat, yearning for colors, for flowers, for the voices of birds, thirsting for words of kindness, for neighborliness." My friends, this is the predicament we also find ourselves in 2024. The last couple of years have really done a number on trying to strain and chip away at our bonds with each other and the way we relate with one another. And kindness has really become something that's not as widespread as it once was. Yet it can be such a simple thing. So this last week, I also read this beautiful poem by a modern poet, Danusha Laméris, entitled Small Kindnesses. And I think this captures it so beautifully. To be truly kind doesn't require a great deal of us. It simply requires an awareness in us and affection, as we talked about last week, an affection for where we are and who we're with. And this is a way that we can express the divinity in us and to bring to light the divinity in others as well. So this is the poem Small Kindnesses by Danusha Laméris. I've been thinking about the way when you walk down a crowded aisle, people pull in their legs to let you by, or how strangers still say bless you when someone sneezes, a leftover from the bubonic plague. Don't die, we are saying. And sometimes when you spill lemons from your grocery bag, someone else will help you pick them up. Mostly, we don't want to harm each other. We want to be handed our cup of coffee hot and to say thank you to the person handing it, to smile at them and for them to smile back, for the waitress to call us honey when she sets down the bowl of clam chowder, and for the driver in the red pickup truck to let us pass. We have so little of each other now. so far from tribe and fire. Only these brief moments of exchange. What if they are the true dwelling of the holy? These fleeting temples we make together when we say, "Here, have my seat. Go ahead, you first. I like your hat." Isn't that beautiful? I love the sentiments in there that we really do make these tiny temples or spaces of the holy when we are kind, when we take those small, tiny moments to acknowledge the other immortal beings disguised as humans in front of us in all the things we do. When I started my intensive week at Duke last fall, it was very intensive. I'm not accustomed to putting in 60, 70 hours a week. And I was about 5 days in out of 10. And I go to Duke Chapel every day just to be in this beautiful space. And on this particular day, I really had just had it. And I went to this second seat in on the second row from the back in the chairs. That's where I like to sit. And I have a beautiful view of Mary Magdalene and some of the women. And I put my head down and I just let the tears flow. As I was there, I had noticed that one of the hosts at the chapel was in a wheelchair and I could hear her scraping by me. And I thought, please don't stop. Please don't stop. My head was down. I was a little embarrassed and I heard her stop. And I thought, well, maybe she'll leave. And she didn't. She stayed there. So after about 4 or 5 minutes, I lifted up my head and I was greeted by the beautiful and lovely Anne Hall. And she has the sweetest Southern accent. And she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, but I will be." And she just looked at me. She said, "Well, I'm here. Life's tough, isn't it?" And we proceeded to have this very beautiful, human, kind, holy moment there in Duke Chapel. She told me she would pray for me. So in the days following, I kept going back to Duke Chapel and I didn't manage to see her again. But when I went back this next term, I was walking up to chapel. Well, it was Epiphany Sunday afternoon to chapel by myself. And I had some very stressful things on my mind. And I saw Anne trying to push herself from the chapel into the divinity school building. So I ran up and I asked her if I could help her move her chair. And she said yes. And then when I got her in the door, I came around to the front and I said, "I'm not sure if you remember me." And she looked at me and she said, "Yes, Mandy, I've been praying for you every day." Now, I can't tell you what that means to me. It may seem such a small, insignificant thing in the great events of the world, but that was the world. And that was my world. And that was the world I love to inhabit and I choose to inhabit. There is someone in that world who has kindly tethered me to herself and has tethered me to her faith and to her belief. And I think about Anne all the time. And every term when I go back, I always have to go hang out with Anne because she represents Christ in that chapel to me. with all of the beautiful stained glass and all of the beautiful stone and the Gothic arches and all of the things that I love so much, the embodiment of everything that chapel about is Anne Hall. I'll even put a link to her in the Duke Chapel website. My friends, we read in 1 Corinthians 13 that love is patient and love is kind. The word there is Christeomai, which is only used once in the New Testament. And it means to be kind or full of service to others, to be gentle, to be mild, perhaps, with one another, or to show oneself as useful to act benevolently toward each other. Kindness is a very underrated virtue, my friends, and as it turns out, there's an entire website dedicated to this called randomactsofkindness.org. I jumped on there. They have a printable PDF calendar of random acts of kindness you can do. You can become a racktivist, someone who perpetuates random acts of kindness. Also put that in the show notes. This can't be overstated. I'm reading a book by a Jewish author, Abraham Joshua Heschel, about the Sabbath, which is just profound. If any of you are looking into your Sabbath practices, boy, this will make us level up quite a few levels. But he said, when I was young, I admired clever people. Now that I am old, I admire kind people. And Albert Einstein said, the ideas which have lighted my way and time after time have given me new courage to face life cheerfully have been kindness, beauty, and truth. Well, we will talk more about beauty and truth later on in the season, but notice that the first of those is kindness. Buddha said, when words are both true and kind, they can change the world. And lastly, from this same website, Adam Lindsay Gordon said, life is mostly froth and bubble. Two things stand like stone: kindness in another's trouble and courage in our own. I think these two have a reciprocity about them. Anne's kindness gave me courage in my own. And perhaps the kindness that we give inspires courage in others. And the courage we demonstrate may inspire kindness as well. So my friends, take the moment to be kind and also take these holy moments to recognize, this is what I'm also going to really work on this week, recognize the many kindnesses that others do for us. Like, here, have my seat. Go ahead, you first. And I love your hat. May the gods smile upon you, and I'm wishing you so much love and light.
Thank you for joining us for Reflecting Light with Mandy Green. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave a good rating and share it with your friends. And remember, your light makes the world a brighter place. Share it.